The
Hi, Yvonne.
Hi, Malika.
Oh, you're not feeling good?
I don't know. I just started sneezing all of a sudden. I'm like
Oh,
tired.
allergies.
Oh boy.
I don't
Well,
know
I
what.
hope you can see the screen that says teaching subject matter with technology. Can you see that?
Yes.
Now I can, yes. It was blank.
Okay, good. That's wonderful. So we're going to start with a little presentation here. And one of the first things I wanted to point out, kind of an overall theme. I didn't find a quote, that really fit tonight's subject, but this is a very strong statement that I found in an article online. It says technology may be the backbone of one-to-one programs, but it should not take the spotlight. Learning goals and outcomes require equal attention. And my opinion is learning goals and outcomes require priority. So that's the scoop. Okay. Do either of you agree with that or have any thoughts?
I think technology should come second.
Yes, good. That's great.
Yes.
Okay, because the learning goals and outcomes are actually the priority.
Yes.
Another quote that I found in an article that's related to tonight's subject is, in a technology-rich classroom, students don't learn technology. Technology merely provides the tools to be used for authentic learning. It is a means and not an end.
Right.
And I think I emphasize that because when technology devices such as mobile devices started to be a part of the classroom, most teachers were just trying to learn how to use them, and they were teaching their students how to use them without putting the learning goal first, and it's very important to do that. We're going to go over chapter 13 and chapter 14 in the Spectre book, and I just want to bring out a few questions that I was thinking about as I was reading. Sometimes the readings are very theoretical, and we need to bring them down to ground level and really talk about what's the core of this. One question I had is, what new concepts did you better understand after reading this chapter? So think about that. I'll read all the questions first, then we can talk about them. What similarities are there between workplace and educational technology? What facilitates change in technology in the workplace and in technology in education? And how is technology cost justified? So, starting with Yvonne, do you want to comment on one of those four questions?
Sure. Let's see. Similarities between the workplace and educational, what does it say? Technology?
Educational technology. So, technology in the workplace. Example would be maybe a Xerox machine. And a technology in the classroom. What are the similarities?
I think workplace and educational technologies. I don't even know. I can't even.
Can I answer that one then?
Yes, that would be fine. Thank you so much.
And when you mentioned the copy machine, I was thinking that we need or have lessons to learn, especially with the copying machine.
Uh-huh.
I would say technology for computer, maybe software programs, and or learning how to move our way around the computer, like different computer software programs.
Mm-hmm.
Learning how to fix the copy machine, which always breaks down.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Always. Learning new technology. It's like almost every couple of years or so, we get a new copying machine. It has new buttons on there that you're not familiar with, and you accidentally do something you're not supposed to do, and same thing with the software. So I think maybe getting some type of, I don't know, crash course on learning new software and learning about the copy machine.
Yeah, that's good. Those are similarities that we need training in the workplace,
Yes.
training as in the educational place as teachers, how to use the devices that we're bringing into our environment. So that's a very good similarity. Thank you for pointing that out.
You say it so very well.
Oh,
I was stuttering over myself.
no, that's okay. Here's one. Maybe, Yvonne, you can think about this. What facilitates change in technology in the workplace? Now, I'm going to give you the example of cash registers. When I first was a cashier at Sears back in the 1980s, we didn't have scanners. When I had a credit card, I had to put it in this thing, go back and forth. The impression would go on a piece of paper, and that piece of paper was signed and then put into a drawer, and all the paperwork took a long time. So what facilitated change in the cash register between then and now?
Well, I just think it's also just, of course, being outdated, number one.
Yes.
Number two, it would just be, you could also say, like, if it's user-friendly or not. Because, I mean, like, with the things nowadays, I mean, for my example, I would think when I first had started at our school, we had the overhead projectors with, like, the light bulb and whatever. And then, like, that light bulb would go out. Not only, like, what Malika's talking about with copy machines, but with the overhead projectors, those would fail on us a lot more than what we have now. So I think it's just also the, I guess, just the user friendliness of certain technology these days.
So what you're really saying is that what really facilitated the change is that when a new technology came up that was easier to use, more cost effective, then it was time for the schools to actually change over to a different technology.
Right.
You didn't have to pay for the expensive bulbs. You didn't have to have them, be down all the time, all this kind of stuff.
Right. I just feel like that it's more of like a, I don't know what to say, like maybe like a longevity of another type of technology is just way better. So.
Right. It's a lot better. That's for sure.
And not as, and think about, like, remember, like, the transparency, you have to wash them and do this and do, it's just so, I don't know, I just felt like,
it's archaic.
yes,
for sure.
And it just gets tiresome, it's just like, really, I have to wash this? Like, yeah, well.
Mm-hmm.
And if you forgot to wash it, that was the worst.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Especially in math, when you had all the answers written all over it and you had to erase those answers.
Yeah. And then and even having to make the copy of it on a transparency, like you had to put it through the copy machine, and then that wouldn't work, and it's just, like you said, it's archaic. It just
right, very archaic. So
steps that you need to take.
Right. I wanted to pose those questions to you because I want you to think about when new technologies come, and I don't know what those are going to be. What are you going to do as an educator to facilitate change? And I think that if we had more teachers that could facilitate change, saying, hey, I see this new device out, it would be better. One thing you could do is, and one thing I did is I piloted new things. I asked the manufacturer with the company, could I have a classroom set of these things and pilot them and show them to my school? And usually they'll let me have them for free. One such an example is clickers. I don't know if you remember the phase where clickers were in the classroom. Well, I called the company and says, I'd love to have them at my school, but somebody needs to show my principal that they work and how they work. And so he came out and he gave me a class set to borrow for 90 days. And that might be something you might not think about, but it's something that you could do as a pioneer for new technologies.
What kind of clicker do you mean, like to switch slides?
Yeah. No, the clicker was, every student had a clicker and it had A, B, C, and D. And you'd show these slides and then you'd ask the students what was the correct answer, and they would select A, B, C, or D on their individual clicker, and then the program would actually tally up how many students had A, B, C, or D answer. And then before you tell the answer, you discuss. Why do you think this might be the right answer? Why do you think that might be the right answer? So it was a big phase in probably around the year 2008 where clickers were in. And then after a while, they were able to devise apps that were on the phone. And now you can use your phone as like a clicker or a response device is what it was. So that's just one example of the new technology that came up, because it wasn't that recent, 2008. But, you know, you can actually ask to have, you know, if it's not too cost prohibitive. I've also done that with science equipment. With you can actually call companies and you can test out new science technology, and they let me have a digital telescope or digital microscope for 30 days. They actually let me keep it for 90 days, but I was able to show my principal how that worked and everything. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Let's go over to chapter 14, and some of the questions I had for there is, what types of technology can support all students' learning? Why is it best to focus on learning goals instead of learning technology? And what special technology is available for special needs students and for English language learners? And how can curriculum include higher level thinking when also using technology? So, Malika, why don't you start and you choose one of those 4 questions to comment on?
Okay. Well, for discussion 7, I chose English language learner as far as for technology, using certain technology for ELL. The only thing I can think of, I'm trying to remember what I said, technology was for ELL learners, was using videos or using videos for ELL students, modeling for ELL students. What I would do is, maybe every year or so, I have at least one ELL student in my class. And what I would do is I would give them, just say if I were going to present a video for next week's lesson, I would give them the link to the video a week ahead of time so that they can look at the video, kind of review it, see what it's all about. Let's see, what else do I use? I'm trying to think what else for ELL learners. I'm trying to remember. I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly what I wrote, but I did choose the ELL learners for using certain type of technology. What else did I? Oh, also using BrainPop, certain softwares, but I guess that would encompass every learner, everyone in the classroom. But it would also definitely help ELL learners because they can take their time, they can go slower. It's introducing them to the new vocabulary words, especially for like social studies and science, which is heavily vocabulary related. Those subjects. For spelling tests, we have like 30 spelling words, right, Yvonne? 30 spelling words a week, starting, I think, like first grade or kinder. So I try to give them those spelling words, and I have them use what is called Spelling City, and it's a website that the kids use, and it's a fun website that they enter the spelling words, and it actually it gives them a sentence with the spelling words, and they learn how to spell the words. So I don't know, mostly software that I would use for ELL learners and for any type of special needs also.
Good, very good. Thank you for answering that question. Did very well. And what about you, Yvonne? Why don't you answer one of those 4 questions?
I think how can curriculum include higher level thinking skills when also using technology? I just think it all depends on the questioning strategies that the educator uses. Our school is known for, with like rigor and making sure that you are using like Bloom's taxonomy verbs and all that jazz.
Yeah.
So as you are using technology to, I feel, enhance your lesson, you could also, use that verbiage and really get them thinking and get them learning. We just had our formal observations, and my students were using like depth and complexity icons. Like, I was just like so shocked with the things that they were saying. I was like, you guys are making me look really good. And then so I was able to incorporate the technology by putting up a Venn diagram and showing them, like I put it up on the computer and we were able to fill it in at the same time. So just like little things.
Good. That's great. And I like how you said that you have to incorporate higher level thinking questions so that it's just not yes or no, or just not let's find a picture of the flag of Brazil. It's like,
right.
Compare and contrast.
Right.
What do you think? What is your opinion on? Those kinds of things are more higher level thinking. And so I'm glad that you mentioned that. Very, very good. Okay, the week 7 discussion is identify a type of diverse learner that has not yet been supported with technology instruction at your site. So those could be all different types of learners. It could be a special needs student. It could be a English language learner. It could be a gifted student. It could be a student who is ADD, ADH. A lot of different kinds of students. So Yvonne, what kind of student did you choose for this discussion?
I picked students with on the autistic spectrum.
Okay.
And I wrote something about how these days, how there are like applications and things that you can download that will help them with their specific needs, like the tone of voice and like their behaviors, the expected behaviors of them. And so, with the technology, they're able to kind of not really overcome it, but they can learn about it, and more so than just coping with it with others.
Right. So they'll be able to respond better by using the app than they would without it. And so it's a learning tool is what it is.
Right.
Good. How about you, Malika?
Okay, well, I kind of talked a little bit about it just now, a few minutes ago.
You sure did.
And I'm sorry, my voice is kind of going. Well, I chose, like I said, ELL learners. I usually have at least one ELL learner a year. So we don't have a ELL teacher per se. So we have to wing. We just got to do what we have to look it up. Different things that we can do individually as teachers. We're not heavily in our school. We're not heavily ELL as probably other areas. Let's see. I am sure that we do have a teacher that pull the students out, but not very often. I make sure that I discuss with the teacher. Just say if I'm doing a subject on science, and I have certain vocabulary words that I'm using. Also, let her know what those vocabulary words are, so that she can incorporate those vocabulary words in her lesson also. I try to keep communication open, and I guess learning about the culture, somehow bringing in the culture somehow. And even at times I say the student have a difficult time maybe writing a report or writing a lesson in English. I would have them write it in whatever language it is that their native language is in. And then have someone interpret it, or maybe her and I, or he and I can sit down and think, and then interpret it into English after that. So I would say, I know it has nothing to do with technology, but
That's okay.
I guess, you have to encompass all of the whole thing, not just technology, but the whole person, however way that you can to make it better for that child.
That is great. And I like how you made the connection between letting the special education teacher know the vocabulary, what you're studying, so you can relate that directly, and it can intertwine with their underlying knowledge or schema that they're building right now on that particular topic. Now, just to let you know the difference in how instruction is, when I started teaching, we had an EL book. And we were supposed to spend so many minutes each day in a small group with our EL students going through this book, which had nothing to do with what we were studying. Nowadays, what we do is we let the teachers integrate the EL instruction with their instruction so that they can learn relevant vocabulary as they're learning it with the class. And I think that's so much better.
Because we have to do a certain number of minutes for the ELL student.
Good. That's great. I think that's wonderful. And I'm glad it relates to what you're studying, which is really, really a bonus. That's the way it should be done. I'm going to want to go through key assignment 3, and I don't know how far along you are on it, but I wanted to go through step by step some of the things, and if you see something you want me to focus more on, I'll stop and kind of go into that more. But the whole assignment, I'll read it, is to create a proposal for your leadership team to purchase and incorporate new technology resources into your site. And as part of your proposal, you are supposed to include the introduction background of the need. Does anyone have any questions about how to write a little introduction and how to write a statement of need?
Well, the example you sent us, I'm trying to think. I started mine already. I guess in the very beginning, I kind of said why I wanted the funds, and I explained what I'm going to use it for.
Right.
What else did I do? Use it for, why I wanted it. I think I wrote down like maybe even the standards.
Good. That's good to draw upon that, the standards and what should be taught and what the gap is and what your students need. And be sure to say that it's a need.
A need, okay.
Mm-hmm. So if you notice how I've just put up the paragraph of one of my grants, it says sample middle school. Actually, they used my grant write-up as an example for everybody all across the nation. But anyway, sample middle school needs to integrate academic and career technology. So that was the need. They weren't doing it. They needed to integrate that. And so that was the need. So have a good, strong sentence that says, our school needs to, whatever it is, increase vocabulary. We need to, whatever it is, you have to use the word need. So
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm confused. Is this proposal for my school, or is this for, okay.
It's for your school. Now, I wrote one for my school. And I wrote a grant and I got it awarded, so I'm using it as an example. But what I want you to do is write one for your school that you could potentially use, that you could actually bring to your administrator if you wish. You don't have to, and say, hey, here's a need that I have in my classroom. And chances are your principal doesn't know you have that need unless you bring it to his or her attention and show why it's a need.
When the example you sent us, this wasn't in it.
Yeah, this is a little bit of twist. When I was doing the slides, I couldn't find my exact example.
I was going to say, I didn't see that.
Yeah, this is maybe a different example, but it's still very similar to, you know, stating a need for your school. I think what I sent you is the actual write-up that I did in Word, and this is when I actually popped it into the application.
Is there any way that you can send it to us?
Oh well, I'm gonna give you the slides. I'm gonna give you this presentation so you can fast forward it through and see that.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, let me go on. Research-based justification. And did you know that being a student at the United States University, you have a plethora of resources available to you if you go to on the website, current students, and then go to library.
Right.
And you have a 724 librarian that can help you, and you have all of these research-based sources that you can draw research from. So it's really good. Most people have to pay money to get into these research databases, but since you're a student at the university, you can get right into them. You have to present data-proven results, and if they're not exactly the same as yours, something similar to that. And what I do to find out what is, the latest and greatest and what's research-based, tools that can help in education, as I attend educational technology conferences throughout the year, even as I'm retired, because I'm still working here, I still attend those. Now, this is straight from the United States University website, and we've got a librarian that you can email. We have says with 24/7 support of program-specific databases, which is excellent. This is fantastic. It has a little chat thing that you can chat with a librarian anytime you want. So I think that's great. Description of the technology proposed. Now, this is probably the easiest part, is to describe the technology that you want to integrate into your classroom. But remember to spec out the model, the cost, the warranty. Administrators like this. If you have yes?
How do you find the cost of the item? For me, I'm going to be doing iPad, so where do I go to find the cost?
Okay, if you're in, so you go just like you were shopping for an iPad, go to apple.com.
Okay.
And then you'll see in the top there's a place where educators can go. In fact, if you just Google Apple for Education or Apple prices for educators, you can go there and you can actually spec out any item that you want in the quantity that you want and print out the quote.
Okay.
Yeah. Another thing you can do is you can email one of the Apple sales reps or call them.
Okay.
Tell them what you want, how many you want for your class. They'll spec it out and they'll email you the quote. So you need a written email. You need a written quote of how much it's going to cost. So that's the scoop. Any other questions about this?
Also, when you said present data proven results, you're talking about going back to EBSCO and get, what is it called? Proven result of let's say I'm doing iPad. The iPads working, how well they work with the students in the classroom, or how the students really need it for the classroom. The actual, oh gosh, what's the word? When you say proven results, I'd have to have some type of, I can't remember. I'm trying to figure out what I'm
Some type of article, some type of study,
that's it, yeah.
Some type of research result that says iPads in the classroom benefit the students as they were doing math in these ways, if you're going to use it for math. And have 3 resources, and you can just, give me cite the references. You don't have to go into any elaborate summary or anything.
Okay.
That according to a study done by so-and-so, and then quote the date, and then put the reference at the end of the paper. Okay.
You said I need at least 3.
I would say 3. I mean, if you, yeah, and just 3 for, those are the only 3 you need for the whole paper, because that's the only thing that needs to be researched, cited research.
Okay.
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 All right, let me go to the next one. Implementation plan with a timeline. This is probably the easiest. Give date ranges. Now, the one that I have here is very simple. It says January, February, March, April, what we were going to do. But actually, I also, in addition to this, I did not submit it, but I had a whole chart for the principal as to what day the order would probably come in, and, a little bit more detail. But for this purpose, you can just kind of put it, month by month, how things would go. Training and support plan. This is pretty basic. Who will be trained? If you're the teacher and it's for your classroom, it will be you. Who will be the trainer? It's probably going to be the company. It's probably going to be Apple. Are you going to do in-person or remote? How much is the training going to cost? And when will the training take place? And a lot of times you can finagle free training if you purchase a class set of iPads. They'll give you so many hours of free training. Say, well, I really wanted to buy this with free training. Can you throw that in? And I've had them. Now, this is probably one of the most important, is the projected outcomes and the assessment plan. What is the baseline? Like, you have to decide, okay, if your students, like, I'm going back to math again because I was a math teacher, but if they scored a certain score on a baseline, like a benchmark test of the district or whatever, that could be your pre-assessment. Something you've already done or something they've recently done. And then what is the determined outcome? Are you going to give them that same assessment again and see if they improve so many percentages? What is it that it's going to be the projected outcome? So that takes a lot of thinking, If you need any help with that, you can always email me. Now, I had 4 measures of success, and if you notice, I have what's called a metric. That's a numerical indicator of the growth. So for measurement 2, for example, I say, we hope to see 20% growth in the number of students who select computer science as a career goal. So I had to do some kind of a survey to get those results. I had to do a pre-survey and a post-survey. Okay? Those are measurable results. The measurement 4 is pretty straightforward. It says 80% of student projects will score 90% or above. And that was my target. Now, if I didn't meet it, I didn't meet it, but at least I had an objective. Okay? And there's some results there put into a graph and pie chart format. It doesn't really correlate, but what it is I just wanted you to see how you can show results and how that helps visualize results. The budget, use a spreadsheet, use formulas. If you don't know how to use spreadsheet formulas, they're very easy to use. Once you have a formula, you just copy and paste it into the cell. And have a lot of people proof it. Now, for this project, you don't have to have a lot of people proof it, but if it was a real grant or proposal, you would. Okay? Here's a basic, this is like called a budget summary. Very simple. And then here's the actual budget that I put out, and I had price quotes for all of these things. So you can kind of see how I listed the item, the vendor, the cost, the amount paid by the grant, the amount paid by other funding. Now, yours doesn't have to be that detailed. If you just have the item and the cost, we're good, okay? And this is a resource that I thought was pretty good. It is called Future Ready Learning. It's a lot of words, and because it's a lot of generalizations of technologies for the future. But if you are really, straining for ideas, you might want to read over that. And here's what I say is one of the key elements of that whole publication is that there's a cycle of setting the vision, putting it into practice, assessing, reevaluating, and then putting it in practice again with revision. So it's kind of cyclical. Okay. I think that's my last slide. Stop share here. Any questions on key assignment 3?
It's got a lot.
It doesn't have to be as detailed as the example I gave you because I didn't have like a simplified example. But if you just want to purchase like say 30 iPads, you just need the price for the iPads and you don't need anything else, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
You might think of the fact though that, and look back at my chart, that you're going to need a place to charge them. And so there are charging carts. And so when you talk to the Apple rep, talk as if you're really going to buy them. It's a good experience for you. And they'll throw in, well, do you need a charging cart? How many do you need? Blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it'll bump up the cost, but it's really good experience for you,
Mm-hmm.
What else? What else can I help you with?
And you said it's okay to do a PowerPoint.
Yes, you can do a PowerPoint.
PowerPoint, okay.
I would like a write-up,
Right.
but if you want to do a little summary in a PowerPoint, that would be great.
Okay.
So you could actually present that to your principal. I mean, I want you to do something that's useful and that you could use.
Right.
So
Definitely.
it's what I'm saying is, we're talking about all these technologies we could use. We're talking about the Echo. We're talking about integrating iPads. We're talking about integrating maybe laptops or some types of thing of technology. But the whole purpose is if you can get it in your classroom, and that's where the funding comes in.
Yes, definitely.
And that should be all our goal. Like, yeah, let's get this in our classroom. Let's tell our principal. Let's write a grant. Let's get some money in it, or sway them to put the budget that way because I know these kids need it.
Definitely for us, I know, because our computers are very old.
Yeah, and the person that the person that's a spokesman for all the students is you. You are the one who can persuade the principal that you need new devices for them.
Right.
So I just take it as a responsibility,
Well, my third grade team would love it because it's something that I would share with them also.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, they would love that also.
Good. Okay, well, I'm going to stop the recording now and then see if you have any other questions.